The third generation Porsche Cayenne has been heavily updated for 2024. We're driving the E-Hybrid version.
Here's how much the Cayenne costs.
Among the biggest changes are the interior. More screens. They move the shift controller up to the dash here, which clears up this space for a slightly different interface.
There's a real substantial feel in here. This metallic looking piece adds a lot of character.
Yeah, the texture is one of the things that jumped out to me. It just kind of feels nice to touch, doesn't it?
It does. Generous door storage, room for a bottle. There's a medium center console that's really hard to open. You probably didn't even notice though.
Didn't even notice, but you know, I'm so ripped is the thing.
That's right.
Immediately adjacent to it, we've got cup holders that do not interfere with the climate controls. And then up here we have a dedicated phone zone. It's a narrow aperture to get your phone in there, but there is wireless phone charging and a couple of USB-C ports adjacent. Coming back to this new climate control interface, if I were to change the direction of the vehicle and the sun were at a slightly different angle, this would be blinding me with reflections. And it's also an interesting space too because they're kind of like semi-capacitive controls in that they are not physical buttons, but you do have to press the entire plate down like a button. It's a workable interface, but for me, again, the reflections are the real challenge here. Talking about the seats, we've got great adjustability here. I suspect if we were in one of the racier trims, there would be more aggressive side bolstering. Nonetheless, even in our windy mountain road, which I did drive this a little bit before we had to flee fires, it did hold me in place with reasonable competence. General comfort though, I'm not feeling a bunch of pressure points. Nice seats. Oh, and I'm just gonna go really quick to the right here. Here we go. Whee! We're living the Porsche lifestyle.
And being held in place.
Moving to the rear, plenty of leg room, and I like that there's a slide and recline function for the second row. That middle position, I could sit there comfortably. Comfortably? I put a Q in the word comfortable. That's how incredibly comfortable it is. Plenty of headroom. There's a center hump, but it's really flat. Kiddo, how'd you like that middle position?
It feels really good.
That hump is high enough that she can set her feet on it quite comfortably. You could easily carry 4 adults and a kid in here and nobody would complain. One more question for you, Kiddo. How do you find climbing in and out of the Porsche Cayenne?
Easy. It's nice and low.
We have an added advantage in our tester in that we have the air suspension, so it can raise and lower. For cargo, we've got about 26 cubic feet. Accessing the cargo area, there's a standard foot-activated power hatch. I did expect remote releases for the second row seats, and you actually have to come around the side to flip them down. But once flipped down, there's a lot of space to work with. There is also a tiny underfloor storage area that would, I'm guessing, be more generous if you didn't have a battery back there and we didn't have the optional Burmester audio system where there's a subwoofer. But if you love the bass, you'll make sacrifices. And then if our daughter was still in a booster seat, how would you find installing that booster seat with latch points?
The latch points are covered with plastic covers that easily snap out of the way. So even though I didn't bring our booster to test it, it looks like an easy install. And I think there would be room for a rear-facing car seat.
Moving to safety, neither the NHTSA nor IIHS have rated the Porsche Cayenne, and that makes sense because it's really expensive. You don't want to just go crashing these things randomly, but I suspect it would do just fine. Also, a full suite of active driver assist tech comes standard and 8 airbags. Family, what do we think? Is the Porsche Cayenne family friendly?
With a base price of over $50,000, it is rich family friendly.
Rear window test. Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, high five anyway. Boop. Armrest test. Driving in a cruising comfortable 8 and 4 position. I have easy access to the inboard and outboard armrests. On initial push, they seem pretty firm, but there is a fair bit of give there. 80% inboard, 85% outboard. Onward to style. You know what's not stylish? Driving directly at the sun with our shadows and bright stuff. I'm sure this looks terrible, but the car does not look terrible. It has been thoroughly refreshed for 2024, and what's really interesting about that is it's not obvious. If I put the 2023 and the 2024 side by side, you might not think, oh, this has been completely overhauled. Basically, all of the body panels except the doors and the roof have been swapped out. The fenders are a little bit higher, the hood is different, we got new headlights, the LED matrix headlights, fresh front fascia, which is hard to say, new rear taillights. Very thorough for a very similar outcome.
I think this vehicle is beautiful. Some vehicles get their style from details, and I think what makes this so handsome is the overall shape.
Like the silhouettes, and also an athleticism It is so impossibly customizable. If you go on the configurator, oh my gosh, the paint colors. There's really only like 2 free colors, white and black. Everything else costs money. For example, the chalk paint that we have on our tester, which we think looks awesome, is more than $3,100. And if you're thinking, well, that seems kind of pricey, hold on. Porsche has a thing called paint to sample, which is just a vast array of paint choices, and it's like $13,000. Now, if that seems pricey, remember, you're not in the tax bracket where you would be considering buying a Porsche Cayenne. Although the thing I find curious about the paint to sample selection is that a lot of those seem really basic. Classic silver. It's a lovely silver, but it doesn't seem like necessarily special. But if you want exactly what you want and you're in a tax bracket to afford it, $13,000 for the right silver is okay. We are not those people, but we understand they exist. Now, if you want something customized to your exact taste for way less than $13,000, consider Flying Eyes Eyewear. They offer sunglasses and eyeglasses in a vast range of frame styles and lens colors, all featuring patented resilimide construction that makes them light, bendable, and supremely comfortable under a headset or helmet. They're made for pilots, but you can wear them too. If you want to learn more about Flying Eyes, click the link in the description below. In addition to the standard Cayenne body style, there's also a coupe, which has less cargo space but is a little more stylish. Overall, we're feeling very positive about the style of the Porsche Cayenne. But what do you think? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Tell us in the comments. Also, thank you! Thank you for supporting our channel, even though I point aggressively at you. There's no need for me to do this, but here I go again!
Maybe you like it.
Yeah, thank you for the likes, subscribing, maybe you buy a pair of Flying Eye sunglasses, whatever you do to support us, thank you. Let's move on to In Motion. Porsche Active Suspension Management, which is their adaptive damper system, comes standard on all Cayennes. If I'm cruising in just normal hybrid mode, ride quality is never floppy. It's always kind of taut, but in a very controlled and comfortable way. It's like an awesome commuter. It's very, very stable, especially at high speed. You can really put down the miles, and I know because I did. This is way less exciting, but going through like a Walmart parking lot where you get the speed bumps, it's like weirdly smooth over that. It really knows how to absorb bumps situationally. And yet, when you need to drive sportily, things firm up. Let's say you're driving in hybrid mode and then you switch it over to Sport Plus mode. Immediately, the tone of the vehicle changes. There are much sportier renditions of Cayenne. Nonetheless, that sporting spirit is there. There's an immediacy as you make these inputs. I always think of the conversation between driver and vehicle. I ask a question, can you turn? And if it responds quickly and in an engaging fashion, then we're having a great conversation. Normally we review these cars in our mountain town where there's endless curves. We're down in the flatlands because of an emergency, fires and stuff. So I have one really great on-ramp here. Let's go through with haste. I'm gonna put it into Sport Plus mode. Whee!
Whoa!
Now what do we think? Are we feeling a little squealing there? So we're kind of pushing up towards the edges. You have the performance we need?
Yes. Why did that feel so stable?
That is what they do. Like, it's not squirrely, it just kind of goes exactly where you want it to go. It's a Porsche, it's doing what a Porsche should do.
Okay.
Part of the 2024 overhaul, the engine lineup basically got more power across the board. We've got the E-Hybrid. 0 to 60 acceleration in this thing is like 4.6 seconds. It's a very quick hybrid. 3, 2, 1, and away we go. As I flirted, there was a little bit of a pause before the engine joined the party. Kind of like when the Three Stooges come around a door, hello, hello. I'll be honest, when I first started driving the E-Hybrid, I thought to myself, there is less drama here than I would expect and perhaps hope for from a Porsche.
I'll be honest, I was pleasantly surprised at how chill it was when I was driving it around.
If you want to experience its Porsche-ness, you do need to be actively involved and use this drive mode selector. I'm just gonna floor it in Sport Plus and see what happens. And notice too, there's like a change in the transmission behavior. In normal driving, very smooth, comfortable. You don't even like feel the shifts. You might hear them, but barely. And then it's a little bit more of an event when you're in that Sport Plus mode. Among the many modes are several off-road modes, though this is $130,000 worth of Porsche, so we are not gonna do anything off-roady with it, but we will drive it onto this gentle dirt lot. We also have the Sport Response button, which gives you 20 seconds of maximum performance. One bit of weirdness, the brake feel is a little bit odd. When you get down to that like low walking pace, the creep behavior, it's a little bit variable in my experience. So coming to that perfectly smooth limo stop is a challenge. Nonetheless, I think I can come to a smooth stop. Let me see if I can do that. I could not. While I'm sitting here, I'll note that this is not just a hybrid, it's a plug-in hybrid. I use just a standard outlet at our house and charged up overnight, no problem. Use a level 2 charger. It takes about 2.5 hours. And when you do that, you'll have about 28 miles of pure electric driving. I have 3 miles of range here. Let us leave from a stop using just e-power. Huh. You know, for just driving around town at a casual pace, that's fine. I'm gonna push in the accelerator and see how hard I can do it without the engine being involved. Okay, so I was basically using all of the electric acceleration there. Pure electric mode is not especially quick, but it is very efficient. For tootling around town, a term my mom uses, that would work just fine. All right, that's what I think about driving the Porsche Cayenne. What does Sweetie think? Evie's at the wheel. Make a little U-turn here. How's that turning circle feel?
I like that. So maneuverable.
We have the optional rear steer system. If you're concerned about slow speed maneuverability, that is $1,300 well spent. Can you see around the car okay?
I want you to appreciate how smooth that was.
That was a very smooth stop.
Visibility is good.
Now when the light changes, I want you to leave with whatever haste you are comfortable with. Oh my God, okay. So you got up to the speed limit like very quickly. Instantly.
I've been impressed with how unintimidating this is to drive.
Going one step further, do you think there's the potential for you to have fun driving this thing?
I do, which really surprised me, actually.
If we were in the market for a performance luxury SUV, are there any game killers that would prevent you from buying a Porsche Cayenne?
No game killers here.
With that feeling of positivity in the driver's seat, I'm getting back over there. Let's move onward to remarks. In the beginning of the video, we talked about how the interior's been overhauled. Screens are the answer. 12.3-inch center information display. We've got a 12.6-inch digital gauge cluster, which is kind of curved. You can really customize what it's showing. Over here, we've got standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wireless connectivity.
If you're doing the standard things like music, navigation, basic vehicle settings, it's very easy to find. If you want to do a deeper dive and get into some customizability, I did get a bit confused using this.
We're going to talk more about that in a second. And then over here, we've got a 10.9-inch screen. I'm going to call that the Sweetie screen. There's a parallax effect, so if you come off center, you cannot see it. I, as the driver, have no idea what's on that screen.
There's all the functionality you'd need as a passenger, and it's set up in a similar way to this screen, so once you learn that, you can apply it here.
Is this giving you anything you couldn't get if you just turned slightly to the left?
No. I haven't found anything anyway.
But hey, another screen! That screen is a great segue into the learning curve. We've had a couple of things with the Porsche Cayenne where once you know it, you can do it, but you have to learn it. Sweetie, how do you turn that screen on?
I was looking for something that said on or off. That is not what you're looking for. You go over here into settings, displays, passenger display. Passenger display check mark is how you turn it on.
Once you know it, it's fine, but you have to learn it first.
I pressed all over this screen.
I can see the smudges to tell me that's the case. I had a very similar experience trying to refuel. Every other vehicle I drive, you just push the fuel cover and then it pops right open. This didn't do that, and I thought there must be a release somewhere. I looked all throughout here, looking into the owner's manual. I was like, how the hell do I open the fuel door? And there was nothing in there that I found. So I thought, like, the door is just broken. Eventually, I got into the cargo area and I found an emergency release. And then I spoke with PR and they're like, oh yeah, actually no, there's a button. It's over by the window switches.
Once you know it's there, it's obvious.
But you have to learn it first. The gauge cluster display, you had some confusion trying to go through and change it. Basically, you rotate through and you get to the bottom of the options, it stops. It doesn't circulate back. And so you're like, oh, it's not working. I can't change it anymore. Well, no, you're just at the bottom. You have to go back up through the options.
And
once you know it, it works, but you have to learn it first. Now let's take a look under the hood in a test inspired by my buddy Brian. Here's how you open the hood on a Porsche Cayenne. Here's where you add the oil. Here's where you add the washer fluid.
Where's the dipstick, man?
Great question. I looked through the owner's manual. There's no useful information about how to find that. And then eventually, I happened to find that if you go into the digital gauge cluster here and you push this button, even though there's no indication that there's another option here, it will pull up an oil level display. So that's how you check the oil level. Once you know it, it works fine. But first you have to learn it. All right, let's talk engine choices. OMG, there are so many engine choices. Look at them scroll on by. Wow, that hybrid can go 28 miles on a charge. Holy crap, that turbo E-Hybrid has so much horsepower and the many torques. All Cayennes come with an 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. If you want to tow and you've got trailer brakes, you can max out at 7,716 pounds with all the engines.
Sweetie.
Uh-huh.
Will you share our trim recommendation?
Indeed I will. Our trim recommendation is which trim will give you the essential Cayenne features you would regret not getting, but at the lowest possible price. The base Cayenne has everything a driver actually needs, including 8-way power heated front seats, 4 USB-C ports, dual zone climate control, and smart key access. That said, no one is buying an option-free base Cayenne. We wish you luck pouring through the many, many options in the configurator. If you're ready to buy a Porsche Cayenne of your very own, click the Kelley Blue Book pricing link in the description below to learn what your current car is worth for trade-in and what you should spend on a Porsche Cayenne. If you're wondering about the 2025 Porsche Cayenne, it carries over essentially unchanged, except the GTS has rejoined the lineup. They've also made some really cool features standard, like the 360-degree camera system with automatic parking abilities, plus soft closed doors, which is a pretty highfalutin feature to be standard. Then I also noticed that they have increased the destination charges to like $2,000. Competitors for the Porsche Cayenne include the BMW X5, Mercedes-Benz GLE, and Range Rover Sport. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. And now it is our daughter's time to shine. Child, can you tell us what is your favorite feature of the Porsche Cayenne?
My favorite feature is night vision.
Why?
Because when I go on there, I look like, what is it called?
A demon child? A creepy weirdo?
Yeah, the demon
A
child.
haunting vision of my own demise?
Demon child. Yeah, that thing.
Night vision. It enhances safety driving at night, and it also dazzles your weird child. Family, I think we've done a great job reviewing the Porsche Cayenne. May have a 5, and a 5, and you. Come get your high five. Bam! And now please enjoy our AI-generated Porsche Cayenne Synopsis Song.
Cayenne.